So I wanted to start by asking if anyone has ever worked with Sir Elton John or Elon Musk or know of anyone who's done that. Has anyone sent somebody down to the bottom of the sea to explore the Titanic or closed a museum in Florence for a private dinner party and then also had Andrea Bocelli serenade them while they ate their
Hmm.
pasta and their dinner? Now you do. Steve Sims has done all of that and more. Quoted as the real life Wizard of Oz by Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine, Steve Sims is a best-selling author with Bluefishing, The Art of Making Things Happen, and Go for Stupid, The Art of Achieving Ridiculous Goals. He's a sought-after coach, top-rated speaker after keynoting at a variety of networks, groups, and associations, as well as the Pentagon and Harvard twice, co-founder with his son Henry of the leading community for creative disruptors, simsdistillery.com. Steve, thank you for being with us here today. I know you're not a realtor, but you've probably bought and sold a house or two, haven't you?
I have, and I'm a lot more ingrained into this sandpit than you realize. As we've already said, I've met someone there already from CRS. I can quite openly boast that I've spoken at the majority of the top level realtor, real estate, title, mortgage conventions throughout the planet over the past 9 years. So, and I have a lot of realtors in my Sims Distillery community and my coaching program. And in fact, my next two gigs after this in July are both real estate driven. So I do know what you're going through, what you need to identify with. So I probably have more of a knowledge of this group than any other industry that I'm not in.
Well, you already scored brownie points with me because you said realtor correctly. So I'm already a super fan.
All right, thank you.
I'm one over. So coming from with the knowledge that you have with real estate, and then what you do is just being an entrepreneur, what is your thoughts on realtors as individuals in our marketplace on our personal branding? Does that make an impact with you? What do you see as a consumer for our personal branding?
Um, Lots of different little questions in there actually to unpack. So let's break it down. Every realtor is their own brand. And I see the biggest mistake in their longevity, in their stability, when they rely on their surroundings or the group that they're with. Every single realtor is a standalone voice, tonality, and brand, and they need to attract for themselves and stand out for themselves. You get a lot of people, and yeah, you got Christie's, Sotheby's, agency. You've got a lot of these big groups out there, and they go, "Oh, I'm a Sotheby's realtor." No, you're a realtor first that works with Sotheby's or works with, XYZ. So you first of all got to realize that for you to be able to stand out and to be sustainable, you've got to identify yourself. And personal branding, especially in your market, is paramount, because you go personal branding, then you go community branding. Personal branding, and we need to identify first of all, actually, let's break it down. Branding. Branding is not a logo. Okay. It's not a slogan. It's what people say about you when you've left the room, when you're no longer in the conversation. So the first question to ask yourself is, if you're at a party and you leave that party, what is everyone going to say about you? Because if you're in there and you're talking about these apartments you sell, then when you've left, people are going to be like, "Oh, that's the best person for apartments. Don't want an apartment. I want a ranch. I want a house. I want to live, works." But they're not going to call you because your brand's been identified that you sell apartments. So making sure that you've got clarity and continuity on your brand of what you do, who you are, and the solution you provide is paramount. And you've got to do that within your own personal brand. You are your own business, and you've got to focus on it as such.
So you just mentioned community branding as well. How does that differ?
Community branding is when people start telling people about you. So, and if you think about community branding, that stems from a culture. And the first word of culture is cult. So you've got to get everyone drinking the Idaho Kool-Aid. You've got to get everyone drinking the Katrina Kool-Aid. Everyone's got to go, I need this. That's my reason. If you think about probably one of the most successful cults out there at the moment, it's Apple. Apple is one of the most successful. You buy a phone. You know full well the Samsung phone is superior in so, and the Google phone is superior in so many ways. But they've made it easy because it syncs together. If you're an Apple person, have our key fob, have our laptop. Hey, have our music store, have our phone. You know, they've bred a cult, a culture. So community branding is what you need to focus on once you've actually built up your personal brand, what you stand for, your mission and your solution, and then you get people behind it. We know of those. They're called clients and customers. You start working on them to be your culture, your community, so that when someone's in that party and someone says, well, I'm just moving into the area, someone could go, whoa, have you met Katrina? That's the person. And that's when community branding comes in. But community branding can't start before you focused on personal branding. And there's a saying out there that was said by someone way smarter than me. There's a difference between being easy to understand and impossible to misunderstand. And people think today branding is easy. It's not. Nike and Apple and Ford and people like that, they spend billions of dollars cultivating it, managing it, perpetuating it, poking it, growing it. Paramount do the same. All of these major companies spend a lot of money. I have a media agency, and that's what we do for some of the largest brands out there. And it's what we do for us. Everything that I throw up on my social, on my Instagram, on my Facebook, on my Twitter, on any of these things, they're not ad hoc. They may look ad hoc, but believe it or not, they've actually been planned to make sure that I constantly provide the continuity of who I stand and what I stand for. For argument's sake, motorbikes, drinking whiskey, black t-shirt, goatee. Now, if I had turned up today and I was wearing a suit, what would that have done to you, Katrina? Or even to Julie? And Julie met me years ago at CRS. What would you have thought if I'd have turned up and I was wearing a beautiful suit?
I would have been a little dumbfounded because that is not the Steve Sims that I see on your podcast and other social media, the books I've read. Like that wouldn't be congruent with you as I know as a public figure.
The biggest brand fail that we've seen over the past few years was so easy to recognize by everyone here: Will Smith. This, as they say, the slap that was heard around the world. Now, if Axl Rose had gone up on stage and done it, if Conor McGregor had gone up on stage and done it, if Mike Tyson had gone up on stage, it would have made news in the morning and that would have been it. But people still refuse to watch anything Will does because he went against his brand. It was so far away from what he was used to doing that it was a brand break and it was a brand fail. So you have to move with purpose. You need to know when you're turning up here. This morning, I was wearing a jacket because I was on the motorbike and I had breakfast and I was wearing a t-shirt and I don't know what, it had it was a bike manufacturer or parts manufacturer. I was just wearing that t-shirt because I woke up and I grabbed it. But I don't wear logo t-shirts on any videos I do. So just that moving with purpose to go, hey, that's against brand. Therefore, put your black t-shirt on and be you. Don't allow anyone to see you and to be slightly confused.
So how does that apply to, like, we're individuals. Most of us we're individual agents and we're like work in this world, real estate by ourselves. Some of us have teams and we have brokerages, like you mentioned. We have the bigger branding, but as individuals, how do we identify ourselves? How do we create a brand?
Continuity for one. So let's look at how people actually do it wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
for a start. And I don't want to argue with you because it's your show, but it
No,
doesn't matter.
it's everybody's show.
It doesn't matter if you work for the company, in the company, or you own the company. Your brand is important. How many people buy Teslas because they love Elon Musk? You know, it's a case of he's identified himself as a brand, as a go-getter, as a disruptor. And everyone's like, hey, I love Elon. That's the only reason the ugliest trucks in the planet are being sold today, because they are behind Elon Musk and they love what he stands for and his purpose. Steve Jobs was classic. I don't know how to write code, but I want convenience. I want to drag and drop. And that was always, I want to be a drag. And that's what Apple's been built on. It's the drag and drop mentality. So everyone needs to build up their own brand. Let's play a little game, okay? This exercise I call, are you stronger than a cappuccino? Okay. Do you trust me, Katrina?
Yes.
All right. You know I'm leading you down a path here.
Yes.
So, all right. So I turn around to you and I say, hey, Katrina, thanks for having me on your show. I've got a really good person that could come along to your group and teach you something that I can't, that would really give you guys an advantage. Would you be interested? I'm not going to sell anything to you, so just play the game. Would you be interested?
Yes.
Would you trust me?
Yes.
Okay, so then I give you that name, okay? And I say, hey, you got to speak to Bob. You know, he's the person you need, and I give you his telephone number. You know, what's the first thing you do?
Oh, other than ask you more information about Bob, I would call Bob.
You would call Bob straight away, would you?
Yeah. Once I
So,
have the information from you. Yeah.
well, we're in a party and he's very noisy and he's very loud. And I've told you that he's a great sales training coach, and he could take the real estate industry to the next level. Here's his phone number. The first thing you do is blindly call him, correct?
I would. Yep. I'm interested.
You wouldn't Google him?
Mm,
You wouldn't check him out on social?
I don't know. I would trust you. But everyone's telling me they're like, look him up on the web, social, but I am trusting, and I'm like dig in, get things done. So I would want to have a conversation.
If you did that, I would say that you were probably within the top 0.5% of the planet that would do that. Okay. For anyone else here that's listening to this, if you would call in the comments, just write call. If you would actually call without Googling, how many people would actually just automatically call without doing any Googling or any research? I'm very interested to see what that would be. And I think I've got the chat on here somewhere, haven't I? So I can see.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, here you go.
Oh, see,
Says,
people trust you. They're calling.
but how many people are on here? See, most people are
Like,
going Google, social
I
media,
look them up
Google.
first.
Cool, because
Oh,
you
because I
trust
trust
me.
you.
So this is how it works. And this is the truth.
Call if
We're
told.
in a party. I tell you, and then what's going to happen is while you're stood in line waiting for the toilet, while you're waiting for your coffee, while you're waiting for your next cocktail, or maybe as you're on your way home, you're waiting for the car to be delivered from valet, or you're waiting for your Uber, you pick up the smallest screen that you own and you search me, or you search the person I mentioned. Okay? The smallest screen, not your desktop, okay? Not your laptop, this screen, and you Google me. Now, heaven forbid Google lies, because we all know that everything that's up on Google is true. But you've gone from trusting me to trusting something that you know is untrustworthy. But human nature says, I've got to look them up. And I guarantee you, most people would look them up. And they would Google them and they would see the website. This is the next question. They would see their website pop up, and then they would see their social feeds. Which one do you trust?
The social feeds.
Why? Because people spend a lot of time on their websites. Why would you trust watching someone flipping a pancake over that website?
Well, I get to see who they really are. Well, not who they really are, but most of the time people are pretty
That's what we
obscene
think.
with what they post
Yep,
on social media, and they're
that's
very
what we
transparent.
think. The website is your trophy chest. On your website, as seen on CBS, top selling author, here I am with the Pope. That's your trophy chest. If you're that arrogant on your social, people turn off, because on your social, we want to see you walking your dog. We want to see little videos. We want to see what t-shirts you wear. We want to see, your garden or your home decor. We believe your social postings are an unfiltered introduction and peek into your life. Correct?
Yeah.
So why don't you manage it? Here's a test for everybody here. Make a note of this. This is a test for you. You can only do this test on your laptop or your desktop, but this is vital. And this is the first thing I do with any client I take on when I'm coaching them. All right. I want you to open up separate browsers. Okay. So you've got these different blocks all over your screen. And on every browser, I want you to first open up your website, the page that you have that shows what you do. Okay. If you've got a dedicated page just for yourself, if you've got your own website, but open up that. And then I want you to open up every single social profile you own. Your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your Threads, your Facebook, your Instagram, all of them, your Pinterest. Open them all up so that you've now got like this grid pattern. And ask yourself, are you the same person on every platform? Because I said to you, search, and we had a lot of people here say, I'd look them up on social. How would you feel if I said, hey, do you want to know about me? Look me up on Instagram. Steve D. Sims, look me up on Instagram. Only Instagram, nowhere else, just Instagram. How would you feel?
Well, now from somebody of your stature, I would feel like that's not congruent with the professional and with the
But
level of.
I want to help you. But I have told you, you have to look at me at Instagram. Well, maybe you prefer Pinterest. Maybe you prefer Facebook. But I've told you to look at me up on Instagram. Are you not going to feel a little bit of hesitation because I've told you to do that?
Yeah, you're not the boss of me.
There you go. There's the Katrina we know and love. The thing is, I need to be able to say to you, hey, just search me anywhere that you consume your media, knowing full well that anywhere you go, you're only going to find this guy in a black t-shirt with an old fashioned and a motorcycle and a dog and a wife. And you're going to get the exact same story everywhere. But in today's world, people have come up with these misconceptions. Hey, I'm in LinkedIn. I've got to lean up against a car I don't own, or I've got to lean up against a pile of books that I've never read. And then you get over to Facebook and I'm in a hot tub drinking a Mai Tai and it's Girls Gone Wild, because they're different social platforms. I remember I had my social profile picture for many years of me with an old fashioned. Okay. And I had that on my LinkedIn, and I got this lady contact me that was considering having me as a coach. And she said, I was considering having you as a coach, but when I saw you with alcohol on LinkedIn, I knew you weren't for me. And I said, why was that a filter? And she said, because you don't drink alcohol on LinkedIn. It's a professional network. And so I said to her, I get you. I should have known better than that. Can you do me a favor and just send me the part of the manual that says that? And of course it doesn't, does it?
No.
We have come up with our own assumptions of, well, if you're on a professional, you're on LinkedIn, and if your family, you're over on here, and if you got this, we have these conceptions, but they're not real. And here's how you can prove I'm right. If you look up Ford, Apple, Nike on any social platform, and then open up another social platform with them, the bios are the same and the pictures are the same, the tonality's the same, the feel's the same, the culture and the cult is the same. So why are you confusing your prospects by giving them a different person as to who you are. I don't want to be an alcoholic on LinkedIn and a nun on Pinterest, because then when someone does meet me, it's going to confuse them. And as we already said before, even by me putting on a sharp suit, I would straight away confuse you. And you would feel a bit uncomfortable with me talking, wouldn't you? If I was all buttoned up here, you'd be like, this isn't the Steve Sims I was expecting. Even though the words are going to be the same, the accent's going to be the same, I've straight away created. I had an experience with, and you can't help everyone. You know, I'm hoping some of you out there will make sure that you've got identically the same profile, the same bio, because you're the same person everywhere. Don't allow anyone to search you and to find a different narrative. Be in control of your narrative. I bought this house here just outside of Calabasas in Los Angeles, and we were driving past it, and I was with my wife, and there was this open house sign, and we went up the driveway and kind of fell in love with it, and drove down and saw the signage. And on this signage was this woman. She was blonde, looked late 30s. The photograph was slightly misty. It looked as though she'd taken this photograph in the late 80s when she was still deciding whether or not to go into, you know, real estate or soft porn. You know, it's one of those kind of, you know, pictures there. And we called her up and said, I want to see this house. We waited at the house. The gate was open. We came into the house. She turned up later. She was running a few seconds later. We were not bothered about that. But when she turned up, she was 70-something years old. And when she got out of the car, I saw this 5'2" older woman. Now, I'm happily married, been happily married forever. I'm not there to date her. I'm there to look at this house. But what was my feeling the second I saw her?
You were misled.
Distrust.
Yeah.
Absolute massive skepticism. If you're going to lead me, if you're going to catfish me just to get me to come into this house by using that picture, what else are you willing to lie about? And I said to her, I went, nice picture on the board down there. I went, and she went, oh, I had that done years ago. No kidding, Sherlock. She was like, yeah, I just really like that picture. But she straight away created distrust in me. Now, we ended up buying the house. And so, you know, going through the whole procedure with her, I said to her, look, I've got to be honest with you. And I told her about my reaction. She was like, oh, no, no one else feels that way. That was her response. When has anybody here ever received a phone call from anybody just going, hey, I don't like your picture, or I don't like your profile, or I'm confused about what you do? We don't get it, do we? No one confused will ever have any interaction with you whatsoever. And that's what this woman did. She created an issue. I don't want to blabber on, but I will give you something very vital about your messaging today. How many of us here, and I can't see a lot of you, I'm on that thing there. In fact, maybe I can change my view on how I see you. There you go. I can see you guys here. All right. So put your hand up if you are a speaker.
Julie.
All right. We got a few hands up. Okay. But not a lot. Not a lot. Would that be right, Katrina? Am I seeing everything? You got a few people, but not everyone, correct?
Correct.
All right. So if tomorrow you couldn't verbalize anything, how would your business be? Couldn't talk to your kids, couldn't talk to your clients, couldn't talk to your prospects, couldn't talk to your partner. Yeah. Everybody is a speaker. Everybody is a negotiator. Now, I do public speaking and I do a lot of it. And I'll tell you quite honestly, I don't like doing it a lot because it gets me nervous, but I know how powerful it is for my brand and my identity and to help people. I've reached that period where I want people to do things different. That's why we call our Sims Distillery community creative disruptors. You need to disrupt everything you got taught to do in order to stand out. That's what you need to do. When I started speaking, like every speaker, in fact, again, I'll play the game here. What's the number one rule when you speak to a person, a sales team, or to a stage of 10,000 people, what's the first rule that you commonly hear spouted if you're going to speak?
Know your
Come on.
audience.
Bingo. Know your audience. Okay. So I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a comedian here in LA and he's really not that good. And he said to me, he said, there's two things you should know when you walk into a room. He said, you know what the first one is? And I went, of course I do. Know your audience. He said, easy. He said, you know the second one? I said, I've never heard that there was a second one. He said, know the temperature of the room. Now, the good thing about being a keynote speaker is you kind of get to know when you're going to go on stage and you know who's going to come on before you. Okay. How many of us here have ever been to a concert? Pretty much everyone. Whenever you go to a concert, what's the first thing that comes on before the main band? The warm-up.
Warm-up. Yeah.
Every single, you get the warm-up. As a speaker that's just starting their speaking career, you have no choice as to who comes on before you. So if they start coming on there and they start talking about dead babies and, you know, racism and they kill the audience, you've got to walk on and follow that. You know, if the audience was at a kind of a level pegging to start with, now they hate that person. You've got to go on there and got to work them back up to level. Now, that's when you're speaking. Know the audience, know the temperature of the room. Okay. I always watch a couple of speakers before I go on stage to see how fast they react to jokes, how their head engaged. I always do that. I read the audience. CRS was tough for me because I kicked it off at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had no warm up. I didn't get to see how people reacted. I was the opener. I don't like being the opener for that reason. I don't know if you're going to laugh at my jokes. I don't know if you're going to understand what I'm even saying. I may need subtitles somewhere. So I don't know. So when you're thinking of the temperature of the room, now this is where it comes to you. You've all got prospects. Know your audience. What are they after? What do they need? What problem do you need to be the solution for? That's knowing your audience. You already know that. You're professionals. But what mood are they in? And that's quite often the bit that people fail to think about. Now, you think about the world today. Are we happy? Are we cynical? Are we frightened? Do we trust? You think about the planet today. You know, we could literally sit here and say 3 or 4 words that would trigger a reaction. We're in a political year where there is constant misdirection and announcements and fear mongering. Oh my God, you're going to vote for him. Oh my God, he's going to do what it's. We don't know what we don't know, and we're uncomfortable about it, and we're agitated. And the market always goes a bit south when we're in an election year. And then 2 months afterwards, we'll forget about it and we'll be back up again. But you've got to focus on that today. In today's planet, I already don't trust you. Would you say I'm wrong? There was a period in life where you would walk into a store and someone would be like, "Oh, good afternoon, sir. You know, oh, you know, nice shirt. You know, they're just flirting with you. You know," and you'll be like, "Oh, thank you very much. Oh, you know, do you work out? You know, we've actually got these sneakers where, you know, it takes a strain. Oh, really?" And you get funneled. We all know about the sales funnel, don't we? And how many of us have actually been in a situation, whether you're buying a car, whether you're in a shirt shop or whatever, and you've got this slick ass salesman that is just and you know you're going down this funnel, but he's good. And you end up leaving and you've just bought, you know, hair combs. You don't need them, but you just couldn't resist because it was too good. Now today, we hate to be sold, don't we? We almost feel as though we've been tricked. You know, you had me. No one wants to be had. I said to you I demanded you looked it up on Instagram. You're not the boss of me. Your instant reaction. You're not the boss of me. We are like that today. We don't want to be got. We don't want to be sold. You're not going to get one over on me. Selling is evil. It's just a way of you manipulating me to do what you want. And so we naturally don't trust. If you look at the world today, we're very much distrusting. So how do you spin that? You don't sell, you solve.
Solve. Tell me, what do you mean by that?
Well, the beautiful thing is when you are the solution, and this is how I realized it years ago. When you are the solution to somebody's problem, everything about what you're driving, what you're wearing, what you look like, what you sound, all of that is no longer relevant. Think of everything you have in your house that solves a problem that you need solved. Toilet roll, detergent, washing up liquid, toilet cleaner, any of the headache tablets is the classic. How pretty is the branding on a bottle of headache tablets? It's not. When was the last time you woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you got a terrible headache, you go to the kitchen cabinet, you pull out your package and you go, I don't like the logo of that. I'm going to get a different brand of headache tablets. The answer is never. Because if it solves a problem, nothing else is relevant. So if you take the time to quickly stop selling and positioning, and this is what you do after you've branded. This is what I stand for. I'm here to be the solution to your lifestyle needs and your family's being. Identify that this is what I'm here for. I love Idaho. I know everything about Idaho. I believe it's the best place to live. And I'm here to help you make sure you see the same way I do by providing you all the knowledge that you need to be able to make an educated decision. When you're focusing on being a solution, you ask questions. Why is that important? Why is the scariest word in the planet? It really is. I'll have people text me and they're like, oh, I hear you're coming to New York. I'd like to buy you a beer and have a chat with you. And I literally will respond with one word: why? And two things happen. They either explode. Oh, well, you're arrogant. I thought you were cool. Oh, you're just full of yourself and you think, and they go off. They really get offended by that word, why? Or they go, great question. I'm actually looking at doing this and I wondered if you could help me and they give me the knowledge I need to make a decision on whether or not I'm the right person for that call, or even if I want to be there. I'll give you an exact example from one of my clients. She was a coaching client. We'd built up her brand. We'd focused on her socials. We'd made sure that her messaging was concise and she had continuity across every digital real estate spaces she could have. Even if you don't use Pinterest, get your name. Even if you don't use Threads, get your name. They don't cost you anything, but they cost you everything if you lose it and someone starts, scarring you. Okay. You don't want someone stealing your name and then just putting out misinformation. So get your social feeds. It doesn't cost you to get them. So we did all of this for the client and for our coaching client, and she was a realtor, still is a realtor. And she turned around and she was all giddy. She was all very, very excited, but she contacted me because there was this woman that she was trying to get to do business with that was like the self-made Oprah in her area. And she had finally got her. And this girl told her, I want a 3-bedroom house with a pool on this street. Told her that information. And so my client started getting all of that information, and it wasn't that big a street. And she was even knocking on doors that weren't even up for sale, going, hey, would you be willing to sell your house? Everything she gave this lead, this prospect, the prospect said no. And she was freaking out. She knew she would be a great referral source. She knew the commission would be a good level. She knew that it would help her with her marketing, her branding, because she could be part of the community to go, hey, this is the person you need for real estate. She knew it could up her game. So she phoned me and she was beside herself that after pretty much every house on the street she'd offered, this woman had said no. And she didn't know what to do. And I said, you failed her. She said, no, 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 no. I haven't failed her. I've given her everything she wants. I said, what does she know what she needs? You know, the client doesn't know everything. That's your job. The client doesn't know what they don't know. I said, this is what you need to do. Phone her up and apologize for the misjustice you gave her. She's like, what do you mean? I said, phone up and go, hey, I'm so sorry, but in all the excitement to get you what you wanted, I realized I never asked you why. And then ask her, why that street? Why 3 bedrooms? Why a pool? Just put why in front of everything. I said, and then you're going to get your answer. And she called me back. And she said, I went to her. I apologized. I said that I'd done you a disservice in all my excitement to get you everything you wanted. I gave you what you wanted, but I failed to ask you the simple question, why? So she asked her. And the lady turned around and she said, when I was growing up, we had no money. And it didn't matter where my mum was going. We could be going to the supermarket. We could be going to the grocery store. We could be going to school. We could be going to the mall. We would always detour and drive down this street because this street was the it street. This was where those that had made it lived. Now I'm no longer poor. My companies are very good. I'm doing well for myself and I want to move into this street. And she said, I understand that you want to move into the Made It Street, but are you aware the Made It Street has moved? There are these areas now. The first house she showed her in the new area, she purchased. Because she wasn't buying a house. She was satisfying her dead mum. By being able to say to her mum, I made it. I'm in that street, mum. I made it. She didn't care about the street. She cared about that. And had she not dared to ask why, she wouldn't have known that. And if she'd have asked that right at the beginning, she could have saved herself the aggravation between her and her client and all the countless times she had to knock on someone else's door trying to sell a house that wasn't for sale. I knew full well when I was trying to get the richest people in the planet as my clients, I knew that I was big. I knew that I was going to turn up on a motorcycle with a leather jacket, black t-shirt, and a helmet in my hand. And I knew I didn't sound like Prince William. And I knew more than anything, I've been referred to as slightly scary and direct. These are not good assets in order to have someone warm to you. But if you can turn up and go, okay, what is your problem we need to solve? If you can flip it around on them quickly and they start telling you the problem they've got, and you turn around and you go, I got you. I'll come back to you on that and we'll get it solved. All of a sudden, you're not a salesman. You're a solution to that problem. You've really got to ask yourself, are you selling you or are you positioning yourself as the solution to somebody's problem?
So you become the solution that also creates the relationship, right? Because you
100%.
don't get to that space and that comfort level having that conversation without building that relationship with someone. So you're taking it from a real estate transaction to a relationship with that buyer or seller and helping them peel the onion back, to find the layers, to dig deep.
What's the ugliest word in real estate? And
Well,
you
there's
just said it.
I don't know what I just said.
Transaction.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Amazon completes a transaction. If I want toilet roll, I ain't got a relationship with Amazon. I push a button and I get toilet roll the following day.
Exactly.
I have no relationship with them. They are a transaction. And all the time we think we are a transaction, we're being compared to other people that give a transaction. When we dare to ask the why and we become a solution, we now gain loyalty. We now gain a brand. We now gain a stance. And there's nothing better than you having one of your clients saying wonderful things about you in the dinner party that you haven't been invited to. And you can't do that when you're a transaction.
Right. And you can't get off that transaction mentality unless you have those conversations. You have to ask why. You have to inquire and be a part of their journey to make it personal and to not be seen as part of the transaction.
It's very uncomfortable for those people to actually move into a solution versus transaction based conversation. Okay. But I'm going to make it easy for you as well. One of the good things you can do is start practicing that. Start having conversations. And I'm looking at some of the people on here. We got some older people, we got some younger people, but a lot of us here are older than Google, you know, and we're older than social networks. We came from a period in time, some of us, where we would have a conversation at someone at a bus stop without looking like a mugger. So you now need to start going into a coffee shop, and when they're asking you about your coffee, just turn around and go, I like your sneakers, you know, oh, how's your day going so far? Has it been busy today? Start having a conversation, a completely irrelevant, baseless conversation that is directed on getting to know the person quickly in front of you. Because you don't realize that your relationship communication is a muscle. And if you don't use it, you lose it. How good are you at communicating? Now, COVID taught us all to be worse at it. We were really, really bad. We're all sitting there in COVID going, oh my God, I can't communicate. I can't get out. I can't go to the gym. That fat ass wasn't going to the gym before COVID. COVID became the time of excuses. I thought the best time to communicate and connect was during COVID. My 2 top taxable years was during COVID because no one was traveling. No one was flying anywhere. No one was in a meeting. I could get hold of anyone I wanted to get hold of whenever I wanted to get hold of. And guess what? They liked it because they weren't getting a lot of conversation. I don't have it now, but on my phone, I had a note list. And I would go places and I'd be like, oh, I've never spoken to that guy. I'd love to have a conversation. I'd make a note. And we had about 60 people in this note list of people that I wanted to communicate with that I just had never got around to it. And then when COVID started, I literally started reaching out to people on LinkedIn and Facebook. And these are, hey, you know, it's a funny time. Love to have a conversation with you. I saw you speak at this. And they would literally, great, how can we do? Well, I'm available this afternoon at 3. Let's jump on. Here's my Zoom link. Do you know, I had that 60 people list. Sadly, a few of them on there were dead. But I had that 60-person list for about 5 years. I cleared it within the first 3 months of COVID. The first 3 months, because no one was going anywhere. I'm still doing business with half of that list. That's why I'm not building up an any more list. I don't have the time to do that. We became really bad at communicating. And then when COVID stopped, I think it was a Tuesday at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it just seemed to stop, didn't it? When it stopped, we all had social hangovers. And they had a medical term for it, social hangover. We would go down, we'd start chatting away, and we'd go, and we were exhausted. Because you don't realize how your power of communication is a muscle. And I don't care if you start chatting with the Uber person. I don't care if you start chatting with your hairdresser. You need to start getting used to striking up conversations that gets to a point. So that when you do meet someone you want to do business with, that your mortgage is on the line for you to get that business from them, you've been practicing that muscle and you've been sharpening your sword before you get on the battlefield.
But
You
I'm
need
shy.
to focus. You've got a mortgage, haven't you? Here's the dumb thing. Do you have any kids, Katrina?
Yeah,
You do. How many kids?
2.
All right. So you've gone out for a meal and I walk up to your table and I start to strike up a conversation with you. Do you want to have a conversation? You don't know me, but I start trying to strike up a conversation with you. How uncomfortable does that make you feel? This big fella trying to chat with you, having a meal with your kids.
Be a little weird.
Be a little bit weird, and you'd feel uncomfortable.
Definitely.
Would you be rude and tell me to just sod off or worse?
No.
No, you wouldn't, because you're shy, you're a mum, you got your kids in front of you and stuff like that. So what about if I reach over and I take both of the kids' food away from them in front of them? I take their plates away from them and I start eating it. Now what happens to Mama Bear?
Well, then Mama Bear needs to get in between you and my grown boys because they would be very feisty.
We
Now, if I had
change,
little kids, that'd be different. Yeah. Mama
we
Bear.
change, yeah, we change based on the situation.
Yeah.
And you got big kids, all right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if I start swinging at your big lads, Mother Bear's still going to jump on my back and start clawing my eyes out. She's going to jump in the fight. The bottom line of it is stop thinking about yourself, start thinking about what you're doing and what impact you create. I don't like flying around the planet walking on stage. I don't like walking up at CRS was I didn't know the crowd. I'd never met the crowd. And I'm getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning to open it up. I literally got off that stage, went up to my room and just laid down for an hour because I was exhausted. But you do it for purpose. Thankfully, because I've got people like Julie that will turn around and go, hey, a good book is one of Steve Sims's books. You know, I literally will look at an event, whatever the event is. This event could be going to have breakfast with someone, getting on a phone call with someone, speaking with you guys today, whatever it is. And I go, what's the point? What's the point is my tattooed mantra. What's the point? How is this going to help? You know, am I going to get paid $1 million? Am I going to be able to impact 1 million people? Am I going to get some raving fans? Am I going to get people to be able to talk about me in other areas? Am I going to get people to follow me that maybe can help me in the future? Whatever. What's the point? And if the point is zero, I don't do it. I actually don't do a lot of corporate gigs because I hate gigs that actually pay their employees to come to it because they don't give a shit. They're only there for the free buffet and to play golf at a place they never could and maybe score some time with the secretary. Those are not the gigs that I want to be at. I love being at events where everyone has a vested interest to get an unfair advantage in their marketplace to disrupt and to do things differently. And that's why I do what I do. I don't care about how nervous it makes me. I don't care about how tired it makes me. I do live events and I will literally go home and just, there was a gentleman by the name of Joe Polish from an event called Genius Network. And he had me at his stage and my plane was late and the car wasn't there because of that. So I had to get another car. So I finally got to the auditorium and the speaker that was supposed to be speaking was late, and so they flipped his time slot. He was going to go on the afternoon, and they wanted me to therefore go on in the next 10 minutes. And I was flustered, to say the least. I put some headphones on, I started blaring some Pearl Jam, and I went on and I did my bit. When I came off of stage, out the back of this auditorium, 2 of the doors were opened up, and where they had set me up in my apartment in this hotel, I could see my room from this door. So I made a quick scuttle, went into my room, locked the door, and I laid down for an hour. And I woke up to about 30 texts from my son as I had walked off stage and then literally run to the apartment. I got a standing ovation and they were trying to get me back up on stage and I had disappeared. So it's not about you. Handle you how you need to handle you. But focus every single time. What's the point? If you want to be really good in your industry, be in control of the narrative, your story, your brand, and to show that you are the solution. And you can't fit in if you're trying to stand out. Okay, that's the key thing today. And hopefully we'll have a few minutes to go into that now. But we need to make sure that what everyone's doing, if everyone's turning left, turn right. You need to stand out in your industry so you can very much say, hey, I'm not like the rest. I'm the solution to your problem, and allow them to consume you anywhere and to get a good read on who you are before they meet you.
So we do have time for questions. If anyone has questions for Steve, throw them up in the chat. And I could keep asking more questions. So like real estate is in a time of disruption as it is just with what we have going on in the world. So what should, in our real estate world, so what's important for realtors to focus on today, other than branding, other than being solution based? Like, is there anything else that we can do?
Let's have a little look at something for a second. I like to play this little game. All right. It's not brilliant, but can I share screen and show you something?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Who's this picture by?
It's,
I can't see the chat now, by the way. So is anyone
I
put in the
can't see it.
chat?
Anyone
You
know
can-
who?
Anyone know?
Is it Jackson Pollock?
No. All right. It's actually Gerhard Richter. Who's this by?
Gerhard Richter?
Cecilia Brown. Who's this by? Peter Deutsch. Who's this by?
That's Banksy.
All right. The first three I gave you are apparently the top 3 rated artists of this century. In the top 150, where do you think Banksy is within that list? Give you a quick answer. He ain't. The simple fact is, you don't know the first 3. You probably wouldn't know the first 53. But a guy that stencils, doesn't paint, doesn't draw up any originals, stencils on the side of a wall is better known than the top 3 artists in the world today. Why is that? Because he's different. There's a saying out there that you guys need to get tattooed on your eyelids. Different is better than better. I don't want to beat you on comps. I don't want to beat you on how newer my Mercedes is than yours. I don't want to beat you on how short my skirt is. I don't want to beat you on my picture. I don't want to beat you on that. I want to stand out as the only one that you can think about. Different is better than better. Now, I do a whole presentation on that. And one of the other people I talk about is, oh God, I forgot her name. I forgot her bloody name now. This is ridiculous. Lady Gaga. Okay. Lady Gaga. Does anyone here believe that she is the greatest vocalist of our time? Would anyone go out on a whim and go, she is by far the most superior vocalist? I'm not saying she's a great entertainer. I'm on about the #1 vocalist. Mark has a definite no on that. Would you say Lady Gaga was the top actor of our time? And I'm imagining we're going to get a big hell no again. But she's won Grammys and she's won Oscars. Okay? The bottom line of it is she's always had the little monsters and she's focused on building a community of weirdos. She's built a tribe. She's built a following. She's different and she stands out. So while we've got all the little teeny boppers out there and they all may be looking a bit identical, Lady Gaga comes out and you can look through time. You know, if I asked you to tell me an artist from the 70s and 80s, I'm sure as hell someone's going to go, oh, Andy Warhol. You know, is there anyone here that hasn't heard of Andy Warhol? How many original works of art did Andy Warhol do? He screen printed Campbell's soup cans. He screen printed Marilyn Monroe's. Here's the weird thing. Gene Corman was the guy that took the photograph, the famous photograph of Marilyn Monroe. And he got paid $400 to take that picture for a promo shoot for Warner Brothers Studios. Without asking permission, and he was able to do it under what they call artistic license, Andy Warhol took that picture, screen printed it in different colors, and sold the collection for $195 million. Somebody else's work. He didn't even create it, but he became an icon by standing out. You can go through time and look at these icons. Another very famous icon of the 90s, Madonna. She turned up in a different, she had something different. She had the old chrome, booby bra and stuff. She was very different to our time. You need to look at your competitors and you need to be the different alternative. Maybe you dress differently. Maybe your social feeds are you with your dogs. I love dogs. I would much rather work with a realtor that loved dogs than one that had cats. Me and you were talking earlier about motorcycle lifts. Hell, I want to work with a realtor that knows I'm going to need a garage that I can have a ramp in it. You're scared to identify who you are, what you love, and what you stand for on your socials. But believe it or not, it may be the connection that they need to see in order to make you the obvious decision.
I love it. So
I can rant on for anything, but is there anyone got any questions?
there was just one quick question. Gilly, she says, my name is hard to pronounce, which means that no one else has my name, which is a positive, but no one can Google it either because they don't know how to spell it. So when you have something that unique.
That actually makes a lot of sense, but it could also, like, for argument's sake, my first book came out and I did it under Steve Sims. And then I found out that there was a footballer in England and an artist in Paris. So I couldn't get stevesims.com. So I ended up getting stevedsims.com and made sure the D was stuck in there. Now, it actually stands for David, but I always say, hey, if you need me, look up Steve D. Sims anywhere. Don't forget the D for dashing. And that's the little thing. That's the little stick. She could turn around and she could say, I'm Chilean. Yeah, that is okay. Gilliland. And I'm probably saying it wrong and I apologize. And then she says, and she could say, hey, make sure to spell it right. But again, when you give someone a business card, another great way is to get little QR codes. There's someone goes, hey, you want me? Here's a QR code. Or send me a text. I love texting. I am a text whore. I will be in a party and I'll be like, hey, and this is a classic. Hook them, get them interested, and then kill the conversation. Sorry, I'm bending your ear about property. We're in a party, okay? Let's follow it up when we're a little bit more sober in a couple of days. What's your number? And I'll text you my email address. You get the number, you click text. Did you get that? Yes, I did. Great. And then you follow up from there. Text gets through to people far faster than email, and it can also be read shorter. You have a much shorter conversation in text than you do on email. But I could say that Chilean, used properly, this could actually be your identifier. How cool would it be to go, hey, my name's Chilean Gilliland. It's a long name, but it's worth the effort to Google. There's a catch.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it's already 2 o'clock. I could just keep going. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's awesome to hear your perspective, and especially, oh, there we go. Everybody's holding up blue fishing.
Thanks, folks.
You were telling me earlier about a place where we could listen.
Yeah. Don't buy this. Okay, that's the first. I'm not here to pitch it. Don't buy this. But this was the book that I did after blue fishing, Go for Stupid. Okay. And the reason I say don't buy it is because I did an audio version, but didn't want to stick in a box. So what I did was I actually did the whole video in a studio and then dragged the audio off of it. And I have a website goforstupid.com. And if you go there, you can actually get the entire book for free. Say, so goforstupid.com. It's got me reading the book in video. Stick it up in the corner of your, I don't know if someone wants to put the link down or something, but goforstupid.com. Don't buy the book, get it for free, me reading it to you.
So I've already been asked, when's your next book coming out?
Oh God, I didn't want to do the second one. I really didn't. I did the first one, and I'll be completely blunt, was absolutely stunned that it took off. And then when COVID came across, there were so many people that were coming up with excuses. And I've got a great saying that until your excuses can pay your bar tab, ignore them. And COVID was the period of excuses. I started getting a little bit vicious with my, rants on social, and someone said you should put them in a book, and that's what I did. That's why I put them in Go for Stupid. So until we get some kind of seismic activity or something happens in my life that makes me go, damn it, I've got something to moan about again, I think I'm going to avoid it. But the easiest way, as I say, I'm Steve D Sims everywhere. We've already said don't forget the D for dashing. But I do a lot of stuff on Instagram where I do little videos of just things that have caught me that people can actually start focusing and adapting into their life that will hopefully create a creative disruption for them in their industry.
You have a podcast too, don't you?
The Art of Making Things Happen. And I interviewed some, I had Sammy the Bull Gravano, who was the hitman to John Gotti, talking about respect and communication. I had one of the last voodoo priestesses on there talking about misconception and misdirection, how churches would say things about their religion to try and disrupt people off of it. And then recently I had one of the former heads of the neo-Nazi community in Canada, who actually started, he's now out talking about anti-hate and how he was brainwashed into being part of this movement, and how you can recognize signs of how you just start hating certain things. And let's be serious, we all know that word triggered today. These are the early grains that, if you don't know how to control them, can have you hate something for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you are my favorite disruptor and entrepreneur. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for Idaho Realtors for helping me put this together, and for everybody that joined us today. Yeah, so everybody is thrilled. Thank you.
If you want to reach out to me on Instagram, you told me you saw me here. I'm happy to answer any questions. I say Instagram is one of the only ones that my family and my tribe let me handle. So if you want to just DM me via IG and ask me another question, I'll be happy to answer it.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, folks. Bye.